Hi everybody, welcome to Catherine Sews. Thanks so much for joining me today. So like most of us, I'm kind of glad that we're done with skinny jeans, that those are kind of on their way out. But you know what, same like everybody else, I've got a few of them in my closet. So what I'm going to try and do is take two of my skinny jeans and combine them into one pair of a wider leg jean. It might work, it might not, I really don't know at this point. But I've got two pairs of black skinny jeans that I'm going to try to combine into one wider pair. So it's a bit different, we'll see. It's a total experiment at this point. I haven't done this before. We'll see if it works out. I think with the black it might be a little bit easier to wear rather than with two shades of blue, which might look cute, I don't know. But I think the black is definitely gonna be a little bit more toned down, a little bit easier to kind of get away with putting two pairs together. I want to end up still with functional pockets front and back, so I'm not going to be sewing through the pockets, but I am going to be cutting them both vertically. So I've been trying to think of a good way to do that. So I think I've got some good ideas. We'll see if it works out. Anyway, I'm glad you're along for the ride. I hope you have fun with this, and if you do, hit that subscribe button for me. It means a lot. Thanks so much. Let's jump right in.
So this is the basic idea where I'm going to be putting these two pairs of jeans together, making a vertical seam. I'll be using the side seam edge of this pair of jeans and the inseam edge of this pair. But as we get down to the bottom, I'll be using almost the entire width of both of the legs. I want the new jeans to be higher waisted than this, so I'm actually going to be dropping this crotch seam here. I want to make that lower so that I can hike up the jeans just higher so that this sits at my natural waist. We'll see if that works. And then the last thing I want to mention is the fit at the waist. These jeans could both be either too small or too big for me. They both kind of fit okay, but if I found two jeans that didn't fit, that would still be okay too, because I can take as much or as little out of the top of each of them as I want. Good. These ones I made a couple years ago, I guess. So they're ready. They're ready to move on to a different form of life. So these ones are not a skinny cut, they're called a slimmy cut. I'll be using the fly and crotch section of these ones, but as I say, I want to drop this crotch down so that I can raise the whole pant up. So I've got some unpicking to do, and it's this double top stitch, so it's a bit of a job to unpick that. I'm going to be a little while unpicking from here. I'm just going to basically be unpicking the curved part, and I'll stop where it gets straight. I unpicked here and now I'm pinning it back together. I want to make sure that it looks good on the outside. When I blend back in the part I'm going to drop, I'm blending that back into the original seam. I want to make sure that transition looks good. So I have to get it pinned together properly inside into what was this, it's called a flat felled seam. And so I'm placing my pins exactly where it was stitched before. And I think I'm going to sew it as it was and then drop it about an inch in this area. First I'm sewing it back together as is, just so I know that I've got the transition front and back looking good. Then I'm going to drop it the inch. Right at the crotch, I want to come down about an inch if I can. I don't have a lot of space here to be able to blend back in, so I can't really get a full inch in there, but I'll drop it as much as I can. You can see my new stitch line down here, and now I'm going to cut off this extra. So point of no return. Once I cut that off, I cannot put it back on. So here we go, jumping in. So I'm just going to serge this and then go from the outside to replace my two lines of top stitching. And of course, if you don't have a serger, this would be the perfect time to zigzag. Okay, that actually worked pretty well. I tried them on again, made a couple of adjustments, dropped it a tiny bit more, and then I replaced the top stitching here. You can kind of see where the original very thick top stitching thread ends and mine begins, but I think once it's on, I don't think anyone's ever going to notice that. That's one way to make your jeans higher waisted. If you want to, you can drop the crotch so that you can pull the whole thing right up. So the next thing I think I'll do is remove this back pocket from the center panel jeans because it's the pocket from the side panel jeans that I'm going to end up using. So I want to remove this one entirely. And I mean, I could just cut through and then remove half, but I figure I might as well keep that pocket. I might be able to do something fun with it on another project. So I'm just going to go and unpick that. Good. So with that pocket out of the way, I'm just going to take off about 2 inches off the side. I probably won't end up using all of this, but there's no reason to cut off more than I need to, just in case. I'm going to blend that 2-inch mark right into the side seam. I want to use as much width in the leg as I can get. So I'm going to cut off both sides like this. This side seam doesn't have any top stitching, so I can get in here easily so that I'm blending it right easily into the edge. And this is the pant that's longer, so I'm also going to cut off the hem here so that I can open this up more easily. Good, so I'm cutting both sides the same. So then I'll just be opening up the seam below where I cut. I'll just show you how easy it is when you have a seam like this. It's just a regular plain seam serged on both sides and just regular stitching down the middle. So all I do is clamp it at the top here, and you could just get somebody to hold it for you. Just basically, I'm getting the machine to hold it for me. With the little red ball of the seam ripper facing down so that you can keep an eye on the point, you're just going to put it in that seam and you can just push along. I would never use that method on a more delicate fabric. So I've got the center of these pants, the pockets have been removed, and that's all ready to go. And now on to the other jeans. So on this pair, I want to use the side seam and not the center. But I want to use, again, the whole leg, as much of the leg as I can. So basically, I'm just going to cut like this from beside the fly and then down straight into the leg. Just like that, basically. Good, so I'll have 2 panels like this from the second pair of jeans. With the back pocket, the front pocket is actually still intact. Good, so I'm going to open up the bottom of the leg here. So I'm ready to try these on. So I pinned just a scrap of elastic to each side of the jeans that I'm using for the center panel so that I can just put them on. And then I'm going to pin these ones, the other panels, on top and see how it goes. So time to try these on.
Okay, so if you can see that I've got the inner one fastened just with that elastic around my waist, and then I'm trying to pin the outer ones around that, which is not proving to be so easy. If you do this, this is when you're gonna wish you'd have a friend over to pin this for you, somebody who knows how to pin properly. So I'm trying by myself to even pin the back. I'm trying to like sculpt it a little bit, like in and out, to make a nice fit. But instead I'm just about to have a nice fit. Having a stool nearby to put my foot up on helps somewhat, because I gotta get right in there. Oh lordy, this is one of those times where I just wonder, what have I gotten myself into this time? And of course I still have no idea if this is gonna work or not. Sort of has potential, but it's just tricky to get all those little bits and bobs pinned in the right place, you know? Trying to pin something over your own backside is not the easiest thing. Quite hazardous. I think I have to take them off, lay them flat on the table, see how all that mashes together, and then try them on again. So I'll report back in a second.
So when I've got them flat on the table, I can see that they're actually, like, it is sort of gelling together pretty nicely. That's giving me a nice wide leg. So I'm really quite happy with that. So I might just do some more pinning, and then I'm gonna run a basting stitch like down the middle here. I will unpick half of this pocket too, because I think that the seam is gonna pass right through there, and then I'll sew the pocket back on. And so now I'm going to try them back on, make sure I'm happy with the fit, and then I'll do that basting stitch right down the middle. Even that is just temporary. I'll still try it on one more time after that before I start cutting anything away. So I drew a line right from like an inch or so away from the pocket on both sides, right down to where my two legs cross, so that I'm using the whole amount of the both legs at the bottom. I've got that line drawn on both fronts and both backs, and I've unpicked half of the pocket. Just do that basting stitch right down that line and then check the fit one last time. So to do this basting stitch is not really going to be the easiest thing because the legs are two giant tubes, and sewing inside a tube is never that easy. The whole seam is kind of a wrestling match here, as I'm trying to get it flat in that, like just a few inches in front of the presser foot, but because it's in a big tube, it sort of all bunches up around. That might be as far as I can get. I'm using a contrasting color because I am going to be pulling this out later. A contrasting color just makes it easier to pull that out later. So to sew the entire tube of the leg, I did as much as I could from the top. Now I'm just going to finish the tube from the bottom up. So all four legs like that. And I tried them on and I think that the fit is really good. I think I'm going to be very happy. But what I'm doing right now is just cutting on both sides of the basting line, 5/8 of an inch or 1.5 centimeters away on both sides. So I'll be cutting here, and then inside I'll be cutting on that side of the sewing line. Right? Okay. So I'll cut all four on the outside, and then I'll flip them inside out and cut them from the inside as well. I just tried them on again, and I actually just love them. They're really cute. And so I'm going to be unpicking this now and then putting it right sides together, putting the seam on the inside. You totally could, and I'm tempted to just, sew that with a permanent stitch and then leave it to fray when I wash it. I suppose I could wash them and then decide if I want to put the seam in. Oh, I wonder if that's true. Maybe I should. Oh, I don't know. Okay, down here at the bottom, where this one side is longer, right? This pant was a lot longer. And I had thought that I would just cut them off even and have more of an ankle length. But with this wide leg, I actually do like it. It looks better when it's longer, right? The full length is too long. So what I'm going to do, which might be fun and give me some raw edge on the outside, I'll cut a 2-inch piece off of this side, sew it to that side with the raw edge showing on both layers, and that I think will be kind of funky too. So, and then I'm debating, should I throw it in the wash, see how that frays? Yeah, okay, I'm gonna throw it in the wash and see how it frays. Okay, but first I'm gonna do this little bit there so that it can have a chance to fray equally. So if I cut off a 2-inch piece here, and then I'm gonna sew this strip to the bottom of that strip, but just underlapping it so that I'll have this raw edge and then a second raw edge underneath. So I serged one edge of this strip, and I'm just going to be overlapping that serging with the frayed edge of my shorter pant leg. And I just want to line up the side seams just so it looks a little bit more logical, and just covering over that serging. And here we go. And I'm just using a zigzag stitch, 3 length and 3 width. And then I'll just chuck it in the wash, and in about 2 hours I'll know if it's gonna fray nicely or not. I washed them. I think the frayage is just, it's good, right? Like, that's too good to let go. And I actually do like having a contrast thread down there, but I think I'm going to chicken out from the contrast thread. I'm going to do a zigzag in black and then pick out the contrast thread, but I do like it. The only reason I'm like shying away from it is because like every little wobble and every little skipped stitch shows, but it is kind of a cool look, so something to try if you're a little bit more daring. There's a lot of buckling at the knees, and so I'm gonna just pull it open a bit, reset that. Yeah, just smooth that out. And then I'll just do my zigzag. I'll start at the bottom and work my way up as far as I can, and then come from the top down and meet in the middle, which is I think where this buckling started from, but I'll just have to be more aware of that. The strip that I sewed to the bottom worked out great. I really like that look. It just adds interest and gives me that extra length. And then I just sew my pockets back on, and then basically I am done. I like it. Okay, let's do a zigzag. Okay, so once again I'm using that regular zigzag with a 3 length and 3 width. I'm going between that plain stitching and the edge just to secure that frayed edge a little bit more. Okay, so as high as I can go, and then it really does start to turn into a wrestling match, so I'll just stop about here and then come down from the top. Definitely this seam would be easier if I was putting the pieces right side together, because I'd have the seam on the inside. I wouldn't be working in this crazy tube. So it would be easier going right sides together for sure. And then once the zigzag is done, then I can pull out my basting stitch. But I'll do that in front of Netflix. So that contrasting basting stitch is all gone. And now I'm just going to sew back on both back pockets. And I'm sewing around once really close to the edge and then doubling back. The pockets are back on. So I'm going to put these back on and show you how they turned out. I love the fit of the jeans. I think they feel really great. I like the seam. I think that's all looking good. And then the length, even with that little 2-inch piece at the bottom, I feel like they're just a little too short, even with my little flat sneakers. And then when I put them on with either like a wedge heel or a boot, then they just kind of look a little bit dorky. I just want that extra length. I'm going to use some of the strips that I cut off the side, make a little strip on the bottom, and then I think I'm done.
Okay, so I totally had fun with that. That was so much fun to take 2 pairs of skinny jeans and turn them into 1 pair of wide leg jeans. I love this sort of 70s groovy vibe to them. So I hope you had fun following along with that. And let me know in the comments below if you try it yourself to put 2 pairs of jeans together into 1. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. It means a lot to me. Thanks so much. See you next time on Catherine Sews. You take care.